When you're moving to Hawaii, one of the biggest things that you've got to consider is your job. Now, if you already have a job lined up, that is awesome, good for you. If you do not have a job lined up and you're coming out here looking for work, then you got some things to consider. And we're going to go through this list here for anybody, whether you have a job lined up or not, of the top employers out here on the island of Oahu. And we're going to go through this list. We're going to talk about some of these employers, what you can expect, and maybe even the pay a little bit and how many people they even employ. So we're going to get after it right now. What's going on, guys? It's Ryan Strong back at you with another video on the Living in Hawaii channel. If you're new here, this channel is all about living in Hawaii, everything Hawaii has to offer, the good, the bad, the ugly, the up, down, left, and right, everything that you need to know about living in Hawaii, especially if you're thinking about making that move. So if you're new here, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video on this channel. And look, honestly, I get calls, texts, emails, people in my DMs, scheduling their own Zooms down in the description below, getting a hold of me because they're thinking about making that move out here to Hawaii, and they have a ton of questions, and they're even considering buying a home out here. So if that sounds like you and you're thinking about making that move, you can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, however you want to get a hold of me, all right? I got your back when making that move to Hawaii. If you are making that move out here and you have a job lined up, that is awesome. Good for you. I'm happy that you have that solid position in place. I've been on calls all the time where most typically medical field, the medical field is big out here, and we're going to get into that, but nurses, sonographers, assistants, however, they typically have a job lined up with one of the hospitals before they come out. And it's not just that field, though. There's tons of other fields where they are making that move and transitioning out here with their job in place, and that is awesome that you already have that. Even if you do have that job lined up, you're still going to want to watch this video to understand what other types of employment are out here in the islands and things to consider. If you do not have a job lined up, we're going to go through this list, as I mentioned, of some of the top employers out here, things that you can expect, what the industry is like, what brings in the economy, and things going on. Okay, now again, if you don't agree with what's being said on this video, that's fine. There could be some controversy surrounding this, just to make you aware, but this is again what we're seeing and what drives the economy. So just to touch on that for a second, it is a heavy tourist market, right? Such as a place like Las Vegas, right? Something like that. So we rely heavily on the tourist industry. We didn't always used to be like that, right? We had a lot of agriculture, import-export things happening. That's not so much the case anymore, and especially what happened in 2020 and the beginning of 2021, we were hit really, really hard with the shutdown of the tourist industry because the way things shifted towards that being our number one driver of our economy, or not necessarily number one, it's been number one for quite a while, but our sole driver of our economy, right? Relying on people to come here and spend money. So not a good thing necessarily, right? And I know Vegas was hit hard too with that, but again, take these things into consideration. And we're going to start getting into this list of some of the top employers that Oahu has to offer. We're going to start with number 10, and we're going to start with our local grocery stores, okay? Our local grocery stores are a big part of our economy out here, and some of the grocery stores that you may have never heard of if you're out here coming here, right? It's kind of like, what's it, HEB in Texas? Here, everything's better. I know that because I spent some time in San Antonio, but out here we have Foodland, which does a lot of local farm products and things like that, right? Supporting local. You should always support local. We have Times Supermarket, has a lot of international style food, and a lot of people, I know that you can go fill up your big water, like 5-gallon water jugs. You can go fill those up at Times too. I want to say it was $1.50 a gallon. So that's side note. We have Safeway. There's Safeways all around the island, employing plenty of people. And we also have Sam's and Costco around the islands too. I believe we have 3 or 4. I have to check on that, but 3 or 4 Costco's on the island, a couple Sam's too, that employ a lot of people and provide a lot of local jobs for the local community. Very good companies, those two that have, actually all of those are, that provide pretty good benefits. So That is going to be number 10 is our local grocery stores that we have. And then there's a lot of markets out here too. So we do, if you go to some of the malls, I know the Windward side has it, Kahala has it, these things. But when you go to some of these malls, there's going to be markets where people come and sell, you know, their produce or whatever it may be from their local farm, which is always awesome too, that you go support the local families that actually do stuff out in the farmlands and provide for the community. Really great things happen there. But number 10 is actually going to tie into number 9 in a way when we talk about our retail industry and our big box stores. Costco and Sam's are pretty much considered our big box stores. And so we got some other big box stores out here too that employ a lot of people. So we got Walmart and Target, right? Along with, like I said, Costco, Sam's. Then we got Home Depot, Lowe's. These are your big box stores that do employ a lot of local families. So they provide a lot of jobs in these communities and really contribute to the economy out here too. So these are some of the biggest employers around as far as the retail big box side of the thing. Retail, big box stores, and groceries go. I don't know what's going on with me today. Shifting over to number 8 is going to be our banks. So something that you should know when you come out here is that there are no mega banks out here. And what I mean by mega banks is going to be your big banks, your Wells Fargo and these type, right? Your Chase. We don't have the mega banks out here, okay? There's a couple reasons why. And one of them really has to do with a lot of the local competition. But again, the distance from the mainland and a bunch of other factors play a role. But just keep in mind that there are no mega banks out here. So if you do work for a mega bank and you're thinking about getting a position at a bank out here, your position most likely won't transfer because we have our local banks, which actually do employ a lot of people out here on the islands as well. So we have first Hawaiian Bank, we have American Savings Bank, we have Bank of Hawaii, we have a couple other banks. But as you can see here on this chart, you can see that First Hawaiian Bank actually employs over 2,200 people, and Bank of Hawaii, right underneath it at 16, employs over 2,100 people respectively. So that you can see just these two banks alone do employ a lot of people out here on the islands. So this is something that you could probably consider, and they're scattered all over the place. But again, they do provide a lot of jobs and a lot of work in our local economy. Heading into number 7, one of our next biggest employers out here is going to be the Honolulu Police Department, or HPD. Hawaii in general is a back to blue state, we'll say. Whether you're on that side or not, I have no judgment. That is your opinion and you're entitled to it. But my wife's side of the family is all or majority HPD, whether they're still active in the force or retired. My father-in-law, who is Kanaka or Hawaiian, he did 50 years with HPD. Imagine that. He did 50 years dedicated to Honolulu Police Department. That is insane. My sister-in-law is still active on the beat, right? And then our uncle who watches our kid, he's still a K9 unit cop. So we definitely have ties to HPD. But that's side story. HPD is considered to be one of the larger employers out here. And again, looking at this chart, you can see that the Honolulu Police Department actually employs over 2,700 police officers and employees in the force. So they are a big player as far as our economy goes, and employing individuals. So Hawaii is a pretty pro-police state for the most part. Now there's always good, there's always bad. You're gonna see it wherever you go. And again, those opinions are yours and you're entitled to them. No judgments here. I'm just providing you the information. So Honolulu Police Department, really good employer out here. Coming in at number 6, we have Hawaiian Electric Industries, or what is known as HECO, HECO, HECO. HECO really has monopolized the as far as electric industry goes out here. There's no other way around of getting electric unless you get solar, which you still actually are tied to HECO in a way. Whether you're providing enough solar for your own, you may have a smaller bill, those types of things. But they have monopolized the electrician and electric industry out here. So there's the only one that you can get electric from. I believe it's in, I've heard other states and cities such as like Houston, Texas, where you can basically shop around electric, right, and choose your electric provider. We do not have that out here. HECO and the sun are your options. So that's pretty much that. But HECO, as you can see here on the chart, they do employ a really good amount of people out here. Actually over 3,700 individuals working for HECO as of this chart. So you can see that they do provide a lot of jobs out here for the local economy. I heard they actually pay really well and have really good benefits too, if you can land a position with HECO, and especially for the long haul. So something to think about if you're looking, or if you're in that type of field. Cruising into number 5 on our list, and again, these are not necessarily set in stone. These things do change, and there's also opinions that people can have that are tied to this data too. But coming in at number 5 on this list is going to be Hawaiian Airlines, but overall the travel industry, right? We already talked about Hawaii being sort of a tourist heavy state and relying heavily on tourism for the economy. So the airlines obviously would make sense. And as you can see right here on the chart, Hawaiian Airlines actually employs over 6,356 individuals as of this chart. That could change, but that is a lot of employers, and a lot of people do seek out a job or position. I know a lot of people, especially when I was growing up here too, are looking to be flight attendants with Hawaiian Airlines. It gives you the opportunity to travel, and Hawaiian Airlines is a very comfortable flight. When you're flying out here, I highly recommend looking into tickets with Hawaiian Airlines. They're not going to be the cheapest. They're not going to be your Southwest tickets, but it is a very comfortable flight, a very comfortable, cruise out here on Hawaiian Airlines. If you choose Hawaiian first class, even better. If that's your style and your taste, even if you're flying regular economy class and those types of things, it's a pretty comfortable flight. But they do employ a lot of people out here, and pulling the chart back up, you can see that on the same part, at number 8, you got the Honolulu International Airport employing around 3,000 individuals, for air traffic controllers or baggage claim, whatever it may be that you do over there, security. They're a pretty big employer out here too. The Honolulu International Airport is a busy airport. It's one of the busiest airports, and it's sort of an outdoor style airport, so you'll really catch the vibe when you get here of the type of airport. Huge difference between like Vegas Airport and Honolulu International Airport, but that's not the point. They do employ a lot of individuals and help provide a lot of jobs for local families. And just so you understand, like, this list is the biggest companies in Hawaii by employment. Now, that does not necessarily mean like they are the top employer necessarily or things like that. We are actually going to discuss what is considered to be the biggest and top employer, but you've got to we consider it by industries, right? So I'm kind of giving you a mix of both, right? I'm not naming necessarily going to name like one hospital or one restaurant or anything like that. We're going to name it by the industry. But coming in at number 3 is actually going to be Tesoro. Now, I'm naming this one specifically, and it's here at the top of the list. And as you can see, they employ over 14,000 employees, okay? 14,300 employees. That is an astronomical amount, and that is providing a ton of jobs for families out here. So that is why we're naming them specifically. Tesoro is petroleum or gas, right? So that is one of the biggest employers out here on the islands. And so whether you're a fan of that or not, I have no say in that, but again, just taking that into consideration. So if you are in that field and maybe you already work for one of the other, big dogs or whatever it might be, and you're looking to transfer into that company, they employ a lot of individuals and provide a lot of local families jobs. So something to consider if you are in that industry. I'm sorry, I think I said 3 for Tesoro. That's actually our number 4. I jumped it a little bit. Number 3 is actually going to be our medical field. Now, this is one that I really have ties to as far as going to nursing school, and working in the medical field. I was a medic in the military, and I worked in the medical field for a little bit going through school and those types of things as an assistant while getting my nursing degree. I now have a bachelor's of science in nursing. I have tons of friends who are nurses and work in hospitals around the island. So the medical field is a big one out here. There's hospitals everywhere. There's clinics everywhere. There's, your ER clinics, your minute clinics. There's all types of clinics everywhere. There's, again, just tons of jobs, and it's crazy, but I actually saw a post recently on Instagram stating that nurses are getting burnt out, and Hawaii is actually looking for more nurses to come and work out here. because they're getting burnt out from the stress of what has happened, you know, throughout 2020 and the beginning of 2021, and still continuing right now. And we're not going to get into politics, but Hawaii is actually looking for nurses. Now, whether depending on what nursing field you are in, that is totally up to you, whether you're med surg or burn unit or 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 ER. That's all, you know, dependent upon your employment and what you choose. But I know that Hawaii is looking for nurses and doctors. They're looking for a lot of medical field professionals to come out here and work, because that is big for us. One of the biggest things too, so if you are specialized with dialysis, right, there's a lot of dialysis clinics out here. That's one of the bigger things too. So I know over here at Queens West in Ewa Beach, there's a dialysis clinic right there next to the hospital, one of the newer ones on the island. Right over there in Kapolei, right by like Burger King and Starbucks and Jamba Juice, there's a dialysis clinic. There's a lot of those out here because it's an issue out here. So in general, though, the medical field is big. On this graphic that we've been pulling up, it actually has the hospitals and places listed individually. So that's why I wanted to let you know that we're not necessarily going to talk about all the specific companies, but we are going to talk about it in the industry fashion. And so I know some of the biggest hospitals out here, though, are Queens Medical Center and Kaiser Permanente, and then we got Straub Medical, and we got HPH or Hawaii Pacific Health. So those are the things as far as getting specific with that. But the medical field is a big one out here, plays a big role. If you are a nurse or a doctor looking to make that move out here, you can reach out and let me know what fields you're in, what you're looking for. We can talk about that move, what that may look like. We can try and even get you in contact with somebody in that industry and see if they can, you know, provide you a little bit more insights as well. So definitely reach out if you're thinking about making that move. Coming in at number 2 is our restaurant industry in total. Okay, now the restaurant industry, again, sort of going to tie into number 1 a little bit, but there are a ton of restaurants here on the islands, fun places to go eat. Definitely explore outside of your norms, all right? I mean, I understand when you come here and you're not familiar with some of the cuisine, that is offered out here, it's definitely great to try out something outside of what you're used to eating. I remember a comment on one of the videos that I did, and somebody was like, why do tourists come out here and still eat at the Cheesecake Factory, right? The Cheesecake Factory does offer some local style cuisines, but it's not actually, you're not going to get the real local feel unless you actually go to a local spot. So if you go check out some of the local spots like Loco Moco or Rainbow Drive-In, or even maybe some of your more hole-in-the-wall places, and I don't mean that in a negative or, you know, context, but just referring to a mom and pop place that has a lot of the great local, you know, Korean food, Chinese food, Japanese style, Filipino style, and then even your local style food. Try some Kalua pig while you're out here. Try some lau lau. Try some of these things outside of your norm. Some of the big places out here, though, so Zippy's actually employs over 2,000 people, which is amazing to think. So Zippy's is one of the biggest local stores, or local, you know, I put it in the restaurant category because you can sit down and eat at Zippy's. They have a bakery. You can take takeout a lot of places. So Zippy's, if you go there, one of my favorites is the Korean fried chicken, but they have good chili, and they also have a good bakery. And then a lot of people like the Orange Bang, which is a drink. Definitely something to look at if you stop at your local Zippy's around town or anywhere at, because they're all over the island, but they employ a good amount of people. And overall, the restaurant industry took a huge hit through 2020 and coming into 2021, but opening back up now, people are getting back into the groove. Most of them are able to operate now at 75% capacity moving forward into, I guess, what we have now, which is a tier 5, which was kind of made up along the way. So, and you can look that up, but we started out with only 4 tiers and then they came up with a 5. But so the restaurant industry is big out here. I worked in the restaurant industry for a little bit of a time while I was going through college before I got back into the medical side of things, which I mentioned earlier. So I used to work at an Outback. Again, you have that everywhere all over the United States, but that's where I was working. So I know the restaurant industry all too well. Both my dad actually owns part of a chain in Florida too. So very aware of the restaurant industry. I pretty much grew up by the restaurants and bars, so I know that pretty well. Rolling into number one, the hospitality and really the hotel industry employs a lot of people out here. So again, on the list, it's going to have them more individually, or what the overall larger company is that you probably are never even going to hear of. I've actually had meetings to talk about marketing and things like that with some of these. One of the biggest would be Korean investors who own a couple different hotels, and there's some other companies that have their offices over here, but they own a lot of the hotels. The hotel industry is big, especially if we're talking Waikiki. If you watched the vlog tour while I went through Ko'olina, we got the big resorts out there. So the hotel industry is huge. And then on the North Shore, we got Turtle Bay, which is massive, right? It's a beautiful place. Turtle Bay is a beautiful place. But the hotel and hospitality industry in general is going to be one of our biggest, talking all the way back to where we said, we rely heavy on the tourist economy to come out here and spend money. Now, I'm not proud of that. I don't like it, as a matter of fact, but it is what it is, and that's where we're at now, and we got to find a way to move forward. But the hotel and tourist industry, so if you're coming out here like without a job and you've been a server before, or you work in hospitality, maybe these top two that we just discussed can be something that you pursue until you maybe decide what you want to do long term, or if that is what you want to do long term, that's fine too. So definitely some things to consider, but that's going to round out our list with the hotel industry and the hospitality industry. So like I said, guys, if you are making that move out here to Hawaii, you can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, schedule your own Zooms in the description down below. However you want to get a hold of me, I got your back when making that move to Hawaii. If you love this video and all the other content on my channel, I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button. It helps anybody else that is possibly looking for this information find it as well. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified every time that I upload a new video on this channel. I talked about some of the other videos that are available on this channel, vlog tours, things like that. We go around the community so that you can see the communities. We're not always sitting in the office setting. That can be pretty boring, and we don't want to just give you some drone shots either. We like to be out there and we like to show you. So those are actually going to start popping up for you right now.